Hi everybody, welcome to Wednesday webinar and thank you for joining me this evening. Now in July we listened to the story of Zara and her journey to becoming a barrister, and we listened to her journey from starting out at A levels, going through law schools, having to do some resits, and then eventually passing her bar exams and her journey towards pupillage. So in the third and final part of my conversation with Zara, we talk about how life is like after she's left university, she's done her formal education, and now she's working, trying to build her CV, trying to find pupillage. So we're going to start as always by me sharing with you the video that Zara created on this episode. Third podcast for Zara, my journey to becoming a barrister. In this third podcast, we really want to focus on really what skills a barrister needs and think about where the profession is going in the future. So, Zara, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Suzanne, for having me.
You're welcome. Okay. Zara, lots of times people, they know what solicitors do because they talk to clients, they draft things, they go to court for them. But people are not always sure about what barristers do. Really, what do you think is the difference between a barrister and a solicitor? And what are the special powers that you need to be a really good barrister?
I would say one of the differences between a barrister and solicitor, first of all, obviously, barristers are independent sources of legal advice, and where we're able to advise the client on the case. And obviously, generally, we tend to be hired by solicitors unless after X amount of years you go through direct access. And one of the main differences between a barrister and a solicitor is the amount of advocacy that you undertake with a barrister. Is all about presenting the case in court, whereas the solicitor tends to kind of do all the legwork, the paperwork, put it in a bundle, send it to the barrister. Barrister reads the papers and ultimately tries to put the best representation of your case forward. What I'd say is required to become a good barrister, first of all, I think the ability to think on your feet. I think that's very, very important. Obviously, in court, when you're speaking, you don't know what questions a judge can ask you, and you need to have the ability to be able to think quickly on your feet and to give an answer. I also think it's important to have an analytical mind and a logical approach that will ultimately allow you to dissect a case in a logical approach and to work your way through it by having a structure and looking at everything and even every single small detail. Pay attention to the detail. And then I would say interpersonal skills is very important. You need to be able to communicate effectively, to communicate clearly, to be able to adapt yourself, depending if what type of client you're with, whether it's a professional client, and that ultimately would allow you to have the ability to express your arguments and ideas concisely and clearly.
The barristers that I hired and did cases on behalf of the firm and client, those barristers who could just put people at ease and just be human and approachable were always, I think, more successful in terms of their outcomes, and also more successful with the clients than those who sort of went in, did a clinical job, gave the papers back, went home, tried not to speak to the client. I don't think you can underestimate the personal side that you need to have as a successful barrister, especially when you do conferences and things like that, where it's important to be able to ask the right questions of both experts and non-experts in a conference scenario. One question that I'd like to ask then is, what skills do you think you have that lends itself to one day practicing as a barrister?
Obviously, from the onset, I've always said I've had the ability to think on my feet. Talking about my experiences in school. So I have that ability. I have the ability to communicate with a wide range of people, which again has allowed me to develop and improve my interpersonal skills. I'd say that I've got the advocacy skills. I'm able to advocate for others and to act in their best interests. I mean, in my current role, I'm always advocating on behalf of my clients, and I'm always trying to to represent them and put their best interests first. I've got excellent time management skills, which I think is very important as a barrister. Again, when I was studying the bar course, I was doing that full time. I was working part time as a barista in Starbucks, and I was also traveling from Birmingham to Leeds to volunteer as a counsellor. And I think one of the biggest skills is the ability to act under pressure, to be calm under pressure. And if anything, I think when I'm under pressure, it's kind of my adrenaline rush. It's when I tend to perform the best because I know it's all or nothing, and I kind of like to. I kind of like to act a bit cocky to get my deadline. I think that just works best for me because if somebody says to me I can't do it, I'm the first to prove I can do it. Whether it kills me, they won't know it kills me. I'll just prove that I can do it. So the ability to stay calm under pressure. I think all these skills are what I like to think that I've got, and what would allow me to become a barrister.
We've seen in COVID how courts have had to close, judges have had to work remotely, courts have worked remotely.
Well, I think at the moment we live in a media saturated world where technology is all around us and everything is so advanced. And I can only see it getting worse in the sense that we are going to continuously be obsessed with technology. I think technology will have its good points and bad points. Bad points in the sense, unfortunately, for the older generation, it's a culture shock. I know my father's a teacher, and the first thing he dreads is this whole technology. But for the younger generation, those coming to the bar, it's going to become second nature. I mean, COVID has changed life completely. But because we're all in this together, nobody knows what they're doing. It's the perfect time for us all to learn together.
There's lots of judges who are saying they want to get back to normal. They want people in their court. They want to have eyes on the witnesses, and they want to assess their character and their evidence as they're giving evidence. And there's another school that says, well, look, remote technology is working brilliantly. Why don't we actually keep using remote technology? And I must confess, I like remote technology. I just think, why do we have barristers travelling for hours to get to court when they can just plug in and go on a Zoom hearing? Where do you stand between remote working and actually physically being in court?
I think one of the reasons, well, like I said, why I wanted to become a barrister was the fact of being in court, having that courtroom, putting my wig and gown on and advocating. I think remote hearings are all good at a time where it was crucial, but I think now more than ever we need to slowly start returning back to reality. So I would say I would choose to go back into court hearings. I know some barristers that I've spoken to just can't wait to be back in. Others have actually got used to wearing pajamas and a blazer on top and just and then just taking it off. I do think I think because the bar was very traditional, I would like for it to maintain some of its traditional roots. And I think sometimes with technology becoming too advanced, it may put people out of jobs. And again, economically, is not the best.
Well, it's certainly going to be a challenging time. So overall, how would you think about your career over the next 5 years? If I asked you to tell me what you'll be doing in 5 years from now, can you tell me what Zara is going to be doing in 5 years from now?
I hope Zara in 5 years' time has become an established barrister and would push a look at becoming a judge, a circuit judge. That's the goal.
Really, I love it.
That's a goal I'd love to do. If within 5 years' time, I definitely would like to have achieved pupillage and to begin practicing as a barrister. And more importantly, I want to be able to continue inspiring and influencing others to join the profession, or a profession which they think is difficult for whatever reasons, and to break those boundaries and to do what you want to do. So in 5 years, that's definitely, I would like to have become a barrister by then.
Great. Now I'm going to read something to you, Zara, and I wonder if you recognise any of this. This is part of a reference from Rebecca McCarnes, and she says, "The true test of a character is how an individual overcomes barriers, stereotypes, and shows true guts and resilience to achieve their goals. Zara makes me proud every day that while she wasn't the perfect student, she has gone on, in my eyes, to be the perfect role model to others and genuinely make a difference in the world." Do you recognise that person, Zara?
Wow, my sixth form tutor, Miss McKenz. Oh God, I think if it wasn't for her, she was one of those teachers that you would absolutely love to have. She was down with the kids, but at the same time, she gave you a good kick up the backside. I remember when I coming towards end of year 11, my parents were like, "You need to, you're going to attend sixth form. I don't really want you to go to college, because college environment at that time wasn't good, and obviously my behaviour was, something of its own." So I went back to the school and I said to my head of year that I'm basically doing sixth form in my school. I would like to think that
Did they have an established sixth form at the school?
Yes. King Egbert's has a very history of excellence, sixth form, and the teaching is outstanding. I remember when I told them, I think they were lost for words completely. I'm sure they talked a lot about me in the staff room. From what I heard, I was the talk of the town, and I think they were all absolutely shocked. I mean, I think I was just as shocked having to tell them that. And eventually, after a lot of talks with them, inviting my parents into school, it was agreed that the only way I could enter sixth form was to sign a contract. Now, I was the first person they created a contract for.
Wow, that's amazing. You're somebody who's going to the bar, and when you were doing your A levels, they had to create a contract specifically for you. That's a story.
In that contract, it was like, Zara must not do X, Y, Z. Behaviour must be like this. Attendance, no disrespecting, no arguing with teachers. So I had to sign that with my parents, which was very embarrassing, given that my dad is a teacher, and he was hearing all these horror stories from teachers that already knew my dad. And I remember when I started in September 2011, sixth form, the deputy head teacher said to me when I was standing in the line, he said, "You're not going to make it until Christmas. You're going to be out of the school, because I guarantee you'll be out of the school for Christmas." And I said, "Fine." I'll go, let's see who's going to, let's see who comes out better. We went back into school after Christmas period. It was January 2012 at that point. I said, "Sir, you said Christmas I'm not going to be here." He goes, "Oh yeah." He turned around and goes, "I apologise, because you've proven me wrong." Miss Ken's, the last day of A levels, we were stood on top of the yard, and she whispered in my ear and she said, I won't use the word because it was a bit of a swear word, but she said, "I will miss you." And then she gave me a kick up the backside. And I returned back to the school last year and I spoke to students about where I am, my journey to the bar. And Miss McKenzie, I think, is someone who's shocked at where I've become, but she's also very proud and she loves telling the stories. But she does also remind me that since I left, they had to introduce a lot of policies, and I think this contract with pupils are still ongoing and they're strong.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, turning to students who might think the bar is not for them, or even if they wanted to go to the bar because they don't have anybody in their family that's done it before, they don't have maybe they don't come from a social economic background that it's going to be easy. If you had to talk to somebody like that who was teetering about whether they should pursue a career, in the law, never mind just becoming a barrister, what do you think you'd say to them, having gone through this experience now?
I'd say to them, give me 5 reasons you can't, apart from saying I can't. What is it that you don't think that you can't achieve? If somebody like me, who's excluded a lot of times, got in trouble into the police, who's heading through, one way journey, one way ticket to sell, one way ticket into trouble. If I was able to turn my life around, and I found something that I was good in, then it can't happen to anyone. And I didn't have the best A-level results because I wasn't focused on my career. But no matter what, I've never let it affect me. If anything, I use it as my strength and motivation of how somebody who's not come from all A's, but did get A to C's and is able to push through. And I think if you believe in yourself, then anything's possible. But I would also say about the bar, don't have any false perceptions about the bar being an easy route. And I think first when I started the bar, one of the tutors was like, passing the bar is the hardest thing. After that, it all becomes easy. Yes, passing the bar is probably one of the hardest, but getting a pupillage is extremely difficult. So I do have a lot of people who reach out to me and ask me advice about the bar on LinkedIn and social media, and I'll always give them honest advice, because when I studied the bar, I didn't know nothing. It's only after the bar I learnt so much information that had I known it earlier, it would have made me better at the bar course. And from there, I always promised myself that I'd be in a position to always help someone, in one way or another. And thankfully, I have been in that position many times. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, but I would say, don't give up. If it's your dream, believe, achieve. But always don't have any false hopes, or um, keep in touch with reality. I think that's just the most important thing, because only then do you know what you're working against, and if anything, it kind of pushes you more to become successful in your career.
Zara, it's just been absolutely amazing talking to you. I've loved hearing about your journey, and I wish you all the success that no doubt Zara in 5 years' time will be able to tell me about. So keep pushing. I know that you're going to get your dream pupillage, and I'd like, if there are other people out there who are thinking about a career in the bar, I hope they found Zara's story interesting, motivating, realistic, and I encourage all of them to keep to their dreams. Zara, as always, because you're that sort of person, I'm going to leave you to have the last words on this podcast. So, Zara, your last words.
First of all, Suzanne, absolutely thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honour and privilege to sit down and talk with you. And it's been amazing because it's allowed me to come back and reflect and think about how far I've actually become at a time where I'm getting quite stressed about these pupillages and nothing coming to light. It's actually reminded me how proud I must be of myself. And the search for pupillage, as Lord Sugar says in The Apprentice, the search for the next one is on. The search for pupillage is on for me, and I hope the next time we do sit down to talk, I have even more better news to give you. So fingers crossed for it. But thank you very much for this opportunity.
Wow, that was so brilliant to listen to Zara. Right, back to me. What I want you to take from Zara's podcast is those words: believe in yourself. Do not give up on the dream. Keep pushing. It may not be easy. It may not take the sort of standard period that they tell you in the textbooks is going to take to qualify. But if you have a dream and you are committed to it, there is no reason you shouldn't achieve that dream just because it's difficult. I thank you for the time that you've spent this evening with me and with Zara, listening to her thoughts. I will see you next Wednesday for Wednesday webinar. Have a wonderful week and beautiful weekend. Bye, everybody.